Hello, my name's John with NovaStor Enterprise team, and today we're going to be covering the guide for how to manually renew your NovaStor DataCenter Command Server SSL certificate. This SSL certificate is used for a couple of items, but mainly it's to determine if you're a legitimate user to be able to utilize the DC Management Console, which is the Java GUI, or the DC Web Console, which is the Web UI. In that case, in front of us, we have an 8213 command server system, and that Java GUI is running in front of us. And this Java GUI will allow you to log in from the local system that the command server is running on, no problem, even if the SSL certificate is expired. In that case, we can go look at the SSL certificate. It's going to be in your installed data center folder. In our case, that's a default, so it's going to be C program files NovaStor DataCenter for the root folder. In this case, to determine the version of data center that you have, you can either log into the command server GUI and check the top, or in the web UI, it's in the about area. So in our case, it's 8213. The other way you can find out the version, say for instance, if you can't even load the software, is you can go into that root folder, GUI client, and then right click on datacenter GUI.exe, do a properties, and then switch over to the details tab and check the file version. So in our case, 8213 relates to the command server version. And again, this is on the command server itself that we're running these commands on. The other folder that we'll look at is the etc folder here, etc folder. So that folder is where your SSL certificates exist. So you have 9 files that relate to the SSL certificate on the command server. The file that we're concerned with is going to be the .cer, which is the actual certificate itself that we can view by double-clicking. So in this case, it's valid from February 25th, 2020 to February 24th, 2021. So that is yesterday. And so today is February 25th, 2021. And in that case, it's expired by 1 day. So, and by the way, that file date modified shows that it was created February 25th, 2020. All of those 9 certificate files show that same date, which correspond to the date that the command server was either upgraded or fresh installed. Or for instance, if you manually renewed it, then that's the date that's showing here. In that case, we are 1 day beyond the expiration. The actual renewal scripts lie in the central scripts folder inside the etc folder. So you have those files. The renew cert.bat is the file that we're going to have to run via the admin command prompt manually to actually extend our validity of that certificate to replace it on the command server system. And we'll go navigate to that central scripts folder that's underneath the etc folder in our data center folder structure. Like I said, this is the default path, but yours could be different because you can install data center command server anywhere really. So we'll go ahead and start up a new admin command prompt. In order to do that, we will go to the start menu, type in cmd, and then once you find that shortcut, you'll right click on it, do a run as admin, and then simplest way to do this would be to, from within your Explorer session, go into the central scripts and right click on the address, copy it. Now it's in the copy paste buffer. Now I can do CD and then the folder name. And now I'm in that folder. And I can do a dir in that folder to look at the contents. The file that I'm concerned with again is the renew cert.bat. And we'll go ahead and navigate back to the etc folder and highlight all of those certificate files. Once I run that command, it will start deleting those files and then replacing them. So we can see the file dates already are filling in there for the new files as today's date, February 25th, 2021. So all 9 files are the current date and the current time. And if we look at the output of the command prompt, make that a little bit larger vertically so we can see. You're going to get a bunch of a certificate was added to key store. As long as there's no errors here that you can tell, then it's likely the certificate did get replaced. But let's go verify that. To verify it, again, our certificate was valid from 2/25/2020 to 2/24/2021, so it's 1 day out of date now. If I were to double click again on that CER file that did get replaced just now, we're going to see it refresh and give us a 5-year validity. And now it does show that valid from today's date to February 24th, 2026, so 5 years from now. So that file did get replaced successfully. So after the command is able to replace your certificate and you do verify a certificate was replaced by double clicking on the .cer file, and it shows the new validity date. In that case, you will have to restart all the data center services on the command server system. So we're going to go over to Start menu, Run, type in services.msc. That's the standard Windows Services command. There's other ways to get to that, but that is one of the easier ways. All versions of Windows will have the same command. Then scroll down to the section starting with NovaStor in alphabetical order. You're going to have 7 services or so in that list if it's a command server system. If your services are already started, we're going to want to stop them one by one. Go through and do that now on all of them. Okay, they're all stopped, so you can see the status column doesn't show any, basically a null value there. So we'll go ahead and one by one start them up, starting with the first one, then moving down in subsequent order. Now, after all these services show running in the status column here, we're going to want to also refresh the services screen just to verify that they stay running. There is a chance that the command service will need to be started again if it doesn't show that it's running in place. So we'll go up to the action bar and then do refresh. Keep an eye on all the services just to make sure they're all showing running. You can also right click in the blank space and do a refresh that way. So they are in the running stat. So we'll go ahead and minimize that. And we can now X out of the certificate details. At this point, you have your DC Management Console shortcut and your DC Web Console shortcut. These are on the command server system. This shortcut, DC Management Console, as well as the DC Web Console, could exist on a secondary machine, like say your own workstation machine. In that case, the DC Management Console is your Java GUI, and your DC Web Console is your Web GUI. In that case, I'm going to go ahead and verify that I can log on from the command server directly via the GUI app. Go ahead and say login here. And if you're able to get straight in like that, in your case, it may take about a minute for you to actually get into the GUI if you have just restarted or started your data center services. And just keep that in mind. So you will have a little bit of a wait compared to that fast result that I got. So we are able to log in. The version shows at the top, 8213 here. In that case, 8213 does provide you with a 5-year validity SSL certificate. Earlier versions of Data Center, say for instance, the earliest editions 8.0.x, they provided you a 90-day certificate. And then we increased that to 1 year when we went to version 8.1.x. Now starting in 8.2.13, that's going to give you a 5-year validity. So 8213 and any newer version will give you the 5-year. The earlier versions will give you either 1 year or 90 days. So at that point, if you do find your SSL certificate that's in place on the command server is expired, you can always renew it. And that was the process of renewal. Going to be running the renew cert.bat via the admin command prompt, and then going through the steps that we just did, and then verifying your .cer file, which was here. Verifying that file actually does show the new date of expiration. Now, the second part of this is that the Java GUI, meaning the DC Management Console, If that application or the DC Web Console shortcut is created on a secondary machine, like for instance your workstation, and you don't typically RDP into the command server to run these two apps, you actually want to do it from your own workstation, then the GUI itself that's installed on that secondary workstation machine, that will most likely, before renewing the certificate, not allow you to log in. And so we have steps on how to replace that certificate, basically by reinstalling the command server and then logging into it. So at this point, because our certificate was renewed and we already had the GUI installed on that separate machine, we'll go switch over to that separate machine. In that case, when that GUI was installed, it was utilizing the certificate that was created back in February 25th, 2020, and it's expired by 1 day. So we're going to show you what would happen if you did try to utilize the GUI if the certificate was expired on the secondary machine that's separate from the command server. Okay, so in front of me I have that workstation machine. It's a Windows 10 machine, and I already had the Java GUI installed on that machine prior to getting to this point. If we were to go navigate to that installed folder, we will check to see what version of the GUI that is. I believe it's 8213, which matches the command server. But to verify that, you just navigate to where your data center root folder is, and then you go to the GUI-client folder, right-click on datacenter-GUI.exe, and do a properties there. And then go to Details tab, and then confirm the version does match the command server version. That is very important, that your GUI that's installed on your separate machines matches the version of the command server exactly. At this point, what we're going to do is we're going to try to log into that Java GUI, which is the DC Management Console shortcut on the desktop. Yours could also be underneath your Start menu inside NovaStor DataCenter, and then Launch NovaStor DataCenter shortcut. That's the same thing as the Java GUI and the same thing as the DC Management Console shortcut on the desktop. In our case, that is the correct server name of the command server machine that we were just working on to show you the replacement of the SSL certificate. So we go verify that here. That is the command server QA Exchange 19DC8. And so our system doesn't have a password. We'll go ahead and log in. And we get this red box. That red box doesn't show us an error text message inside. We'll go ahead and click login one more time, and then we will get the error that shows the server SSL certificate may not be available in the local certificate store. So that's the clue that your SSL certificate is either expired or it's that your GUI is not matching the command server version and you do need to upgrade it to maintain that version compatibility. In our case, the reason why this is happening is because when we initially installed this GUI on this workstation, the certificate that was showing, the original certificate that we showed in the first part of the video that was valid from February 25th, 2020 to February 24th of 2021, that one, obviously was expired by 1 day. So that's why we're getting this error, particularly here. The SSL certificate, in the case of the GUI that's installed on a separate machine, it actually validates the local time to make sure that the time matches up with the expiration date of the certificate. And since this certificate, when the GUI was originally installed, was that expired yesterday date, that's why we're not able to log in, and that's why we're getting that particular SSL certificate may not be available error. Keep in mind, in order to get that error, you do have to try to log in twice. Otherwise, it'll just show a red box and you won't see the text. So in this case, it means that we're going to have to copy over that new SSL certificate that we just generated a few minutes ago from the first part of the video and place that into a folder that we can get to. And so we'll go ahead and put that in, replace the already existing one with our new one. Switch back over to that workstation. Close the GUI, and then you're going to need to go to that location that you just copied that file to. and then copy it over. I like putting it on the desktop of the machine, but it's not 100% necessary, because when we go to install the same version of the GUI that matches the command server, which is this file here. This is part of your Windows zip file when you downloaded the data center software for 8213 or any version. That GUI installer file will be inside the zip file. And so all we did was took the zip file from the downloads website and then extracted the GUI executable over to the workstation, the Windows 10 workstation in this case, put it on the desktop, and then we copied over the certificate to the desktop as well from that command server system from the etc folder. So we'll go verify that certificate. So yes, the valid dates are correct and matching the command server. So we're good to go ahead and upgrade the existing GUI that's on that separate machine. It'll just replace what's there. If this is a fresh install, it'll work the same way. You always have to navigate to the certificate file, which is that .cer file that was in our etc folder here. You always have to copy that over, or at least navigate to the command server's local folder structure to grab that current certificate that's installed. In our case, we just copied it to a network folder and then put it on the desktop of the workstation. Either way, it's going to prompt here for the certificate. So it does tell you .cer is the file extension, and that file name is the right one to match our command server. So we're going to do the browse button here and browse over to the desktop and then select that file. Say open. If you need to, you can actually navigate straight to the UNC path of the command server just by typing in the computer name and then putting the entire folder structure in there. In our case, we're just selecting it from the local desktop because we copied it there earlier. We're going to say next here, and then next, and then next, and then let it install. And that's going to place the DC Management Console shortcut on the desktop, which is the Java GUI. Just keep in mind it will not place the web console icon on the desktop. That's something that you'll have to either copy over separately or create yourself manually. So we'll go ahead and create the web console shortcut on the desktop of this workstation manually. And Java GUI did just say finish there. Let's go ahead and create the shortcut to the website. So we're just going to do a file new and then shortcut. And then you're going to put the exact address of your command server in. And in order to get that, you're just going to use the computer name. So it's going to be QA-CX. And this should not be case sensitive, so you can do all uppercase if you need to. And then you're going to put a colon, and then the port is always going to be 32333 unless you changed it during the initial installation of the command server. That port could be different, but this is the default 32333. And that's the address of our command server system, which is that separate machine that we were showing in the first part of the video. And that's also showing on the left side of the video currently. So we'll say next here. And then we're going to give it the same name as the shortcut that's on the command server. So DC Web Console is our shortcut. And it's going to have the icon of your default web browser. If you'd like to change the icon to match the Java GUI's icon, you can do that. You just do properties here, change icon, and then browse all the way to your C program files NovaStor DataCenter folder. And then inside GUI client, there's going to be a datacenter GUI.exe, which has the icon associated to it. Say open there, and then say OK, and then apply. And now we have the matching icon on there. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to load up the DC Management Console, which again is the Java GUI. And again, this is running on our workstation machine. So this is usually the machine that you normally use day to day. We're not RDP'd into the command server at this point on this machine. We're just running it straight from our own workstation. The server name should match up to the actual command server. In this case, it does. Go ahead and log in again. And this time we were able to get directly in to the GUI, and we have the version showing correct at the top, 8213. So we know that's good. We can minimize it. We're able to successfully log into the Java GUI. Now we're going to use our default web browser to log into the DC web console by double-clicking on the desktop shortcut we just created. In this case, it's Firefox. Firefox will tell you that there's a potential security threat to do with the SSL certificate not matching the computer name. So this is an exception that you'll have to add into Firefox one time. You can do that by pressing accept here. So it says unknown issuer. That just means it's not a certified issuer of a certificate. Say accept here. And then you can go ahead and log in to confirm that you're able to log in. So in that case, we're good. We didn't get any errors about the SSL certificate, the time not being correct, matching the local system. You are actually done at this point. Thanks for watching the video.